Hi, Geeks and Gamers. It's Jesse Milestone, and even though I'm speaking to all of you right now, I'm actually not talking to you today. Today, I'm speaking specifically to Mikey. Mikey of Film Joy, who recently put out a video in defense of The Last Jedi. Doing the thing that we do. Oh, look, his Force Awakens review was very popular, so we made a Last Jedi one. That seems reasonable. That seems like a very reasonable thing for a person to do. And I would say he starts out reasonably, but the way he tweets this post out is something to the tune of, in case you missed it, here's my review, 6.9% of boys are very upset by this. So immediately right there, right away, I already know that this is a person. This is a person who believes that it's only insecure men who are upset by The Last Jedi. And he very, very deeply, he implies this very deeply in his assessment of Rey's character, where he talks about, how people are uncomfortable by her because of what she represents, of overthrowing, status quo and structure and things like that. He doesn't actually allude specifically to her gender, which is, it's kind of weird that he doesn't, talking about all the things that are, so, drastically different about Star Wars. That's not a thing he brings up at all, which is interesting because, he also doesn't bring up the most disturbing part of her character, which is that she just spends, all she does in these movies is puppy dog around Luke Skywalker and puppy dog around Kylo Ren. That's all she does in The Last Jedi. And he makes this argument that, obviously she's tough and can take care of herself because she was an orphan all her life. Yes, we know that. That's her backstory. You don't get to do that, though. You don't just take a character and say, by the way, here's their backstory. Assume they're given circumstances based on the little bit we gave you, and just know that they're a badass. We don't have to show you that. We don't have to develop it. That's not realistic at all. It's not how women work. Women don't just, and that's the thing that I don't think you understand, that I think you're ignoring completely in your review. Yes, when I say you, I'm talking to you, Mikey. I know you may or may not ever see this, but I hope you do, because this is a thing that's deeply, deeply flawed in your assessment of Rey, and your assessment of the film, is that you can't ignore the fact that Rey is written as a feminist hero, is written as a hero for women, right? And to ignore that would be completely blind, and you credit yourself as being a smart man, which is why it surprises me. And I do think that you say a lot of very smart things. You say a lot of very smart things. You clearly think you're very clever, because even though you start your review by very, very nicely saying many times how, everyone's entitled to their own opinions, you're allowed to have your own opinions, you're allowed to think whatever you want about this movie, and then all you do is just you really don't even make any good justifications for why you're right. You really just say, here's what people thought about the movie, and this is why they're wrong. And the way you frame it is you clearly think that you're just so much smarter than everyone else, which is why you get it. Oh my god, you've seen the light, you've been mesmerized by this film now, and you're just so much more advanced than the rest of us, so now you get it, now you understand it. Spoilers, if it takes you 3 viewings to get a movie like Star Wars. I think that makes you the opposite of intellectually advanced. I really, really do, to put it mildly, my friend. So again, if you really are this smart, why did you completely ignore the fact? How did you completely ignore the fact that Rey's purpose, part of Rey's purpose, that she's written in as this female hero, right? And she does a piss poor job of it. She literally says the line, "I need somebody to show me my place in all of this." That immediately discounts her as a good female character. Right there. That's not what strong women do. Strong women don't look for, and that's like, you sit there like, she's so independent and she doesn't need these men. Then why does she spend the entire movie trying to get them? Even in The Force Awakens, it's like, Finn, don't leave me. I can't do this without you. And using Han Solo as her surrogate dad, and then she just, he dies, so she just pops over and moves on to Luke as her new surrogate dad, and then he lets her down, and so it's not like she gets rid of, she's rid of father figures, but it's not like she gets rid of men. Then she's like, maybe I'll follow Kylo Ren around. And it's not like, she's so strong because she stood up to him and didn't just blatantly follow him. No, that's what she does. She follows one man around until he tells her something she doesn't like, and then she's like, nope, don't want this anymore, and pieces out somewhere else. The fact that you don't see that, that's the whole thing, is right? That's just what all of you guys do, men, folk do, a lot of you. And honestly, one of the people who's not doing that is Jeremy. Yes, your own Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers. Actually does, and y'all think people have called him out brutally for being sexist, but the reality is he actually considers the woman's perspective a lot more than a lot of these other people do. I mean, because if you're going to sit there and tell me that Rey is a great female hero and she's such an inspiration, you clearly don't understand women at all. She is awful. Also, I think it's really, really funny. I think it's hilariously funny, all right, Mikey, that you go into this supremely in-depth analysis of so many different characters in this movie, right? We get deep into Luke, we get deep into Kylo Ren, we even get deep into Snoke, who's barely in the damn movie, and you get Rey a little bit. There were other women in this movie. I don't know if you know this. And I didn't see you trying to justify their actions, because you could have talked about Princess Leia and how much softer and more matronly and less badass she is in both of these films, completely and entirely. You could have talked about that. You didn't. You brought Rose up briefly in passing, mostly when you're talking about Cantabite. You really only talked about Finn and Rose insofar as you were talking about Cantabite, which we'll get to. So what? I mean, black people aren't good enough for you? Clearly you're racist. Obviously you're racist because you just don't even talk about Finn at all. You don't analyze his character, because obviously race is the only reason you're doing it. Or maybe because there's no character there. There's nothing to talk about. Likewise, Rose. Interesting to me that you didn't bring up Rose at all. Especially since your whole thing was talking about new characters and how much we need this new world and these new types of people, and Rose is arguably the poster child for here's a normal person who kind of does normal stuff. Except that, again, she's a terrible female character. She fangirls around puppy dogs behind Finn and just fangirls over him the entire movie and ruins the best thing he almost ever did because she's in love with him. God, I want to vomit in my throat. You say Haldo's name once. One time in this whole thing. You don't talk about her. You talk about how Poe's made all these mistakes and does all this dumb stuff. You don't talk about how that was not the characterization of him at all in The Force Awakens. They suddenly flipped that around to make Haldo look smarter and more powerful and more better, because obviously, in order to be, powerful and strong, we need men around us to look stupid. We can't be powerful and strong on our own unless all the men around us are bumbling idiots and bad at things. Didn't think of that one, did you? No, didn't really seem to consider that. So like I said, I have a lot of, I have some issues. I have some issues with your approach to this. I have some issues. I think that you're ignoring a whole lot of people in this. It's very paradoxical, some of the things you're saying, how you go off on the end about the universality of Star Wars, and that's what makes it so beautiful. And yet you're arguing for what Rian Johnson did, which is the complete and total destruction and breaking down of everything that is and was traditional Star Wars. Your only justification for Cantabite, your only defense of Cantabite, this took you 3 months to come up with, by the way, is, oh, I get it. They're adding some campiness and some freakiness because Star Wars has always been a little campy and a little freaky. And since they couldn't figure out how to write it into the rest of the film, we just had to have this entire aside narrative that served no other purpose other than to remind us that Star Wars can be silly sometimes. Wow! Oh my God! How novel! That's not good writing! Are you kidding me? If you can't integrate this into the rest of the movie, you're not doing a good job of it. You're just not. And you can't talk about the universality of Star Wars and how wonderful that is, while simultaneously talking about how great it is that they're tearing down all these Star Wars ideas and sticking it to the people who liked old Star Wars, who liked Star Wars for what it was, as a universally touching message. By the way, there are lots of universally appealing messages other than, George Lucas's morality, which, by the way, must have been pretty spot on, since it so universally appealed to so many different people and endured throughout all of time. So you're sitting here shitting on George Lucas's sense of morality, and lauding Rian Johnson's, who is, again, also just one man whose ideas of morality appeal to far fewer people. So, yeah, I just... It really, really bugs me, dude. It really, really bugs me that you're gonna sit there and act like you're so much smarter than all of us. By the way, that's called cognitive dissonance. You saw a movie, you didn't like it, but you like Star Wars and you like The Force Awakens and you really, really wanted to like The Last Jedi, so you saw it again and you're like, I'm coming around to it, and then you force yourself to see it a third time, and it's just too difficult to exist in a world where you wasted that many hours of your life on something that really wasn't worth it, so your brain just sort of breaks in that way and figures out how to justify it. You don't say anything of substance, dude. You don't. You really don't. And you again, that's a huge point to ignore, right? The reason a lot of women don't like this movie is because it portrays women horribly, incredibly disrespectfully, horribly. Yes, a lot of women like this movie. They're allowed to like it. That's fine. There are a lot of women believe that these are good role models and good heroes. I contend that the reason they think that, no, it's not because they're dumb and I'm smarter than them. It's because we have a culture that has led us to believe that this is what's right. And within that culture, if you disagree with the people who say this is what's right, you kind of get bitch slapped in the face. So it's not really their fault to say, like, I'm gonna yay this because someone told me I should yay this, and I know if I don't yay this, they're gonna punch me. That's fine, that's reasonable. But as a person who doesn't succumb to all of that, I can sit here and clearly tell you that myself and many, 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 many other women in this world do not like The Last Jedi because of its horrifically disgusting tokenizing treatment of women. It's complete teardown of our power and our inner strength by either having us be strong because the men are stupid, having us be good because we're obsessed and in love with our hero, or like, I don't even know what's supposed to be that good about her. I really, really don't. Or, oh, we're powerful because we just have everything. I mean, your argument, your justification that, oh, she's good with the lightsaber because she's had to make her own weapons? I've been a fencer for 14 goddamn years. I can be good at improvising in a fight situation, but if I put a sword in my hand, I have no training for it. I am not going to be good at it. If you want, I did a video on my channel, Mindless Entertainment, in which I talk about all of the different fighting lightsaber sequences in the films from a fencer's and a sword expert's perspective, okay? I can do it from that lens, and yes, Rey is ridiculously good at using that lightsaber. There is no justification for that. There is no reason for that, and in fact, it shits on people like me who have spent years and years and years of their life getting good at using swords because we know exactly how much training and exactly how much talent and exactly how much effort it is, and I don't want a universe where anybody, who's good at the Force can just pick up stuff and be amazing at it. That's not fun. They didn't earn those things. They didn't practice those things. They didn't learn those things. I'm sorry if I'm supposed to accept that Rey just spent all that free time being like, oh, let me just experiment with this weird Force power I have. Why is she so surprised when all of a sudden she starts using it in the movies? Why is it so surprising for her if she was just doing it all along? The cognitive dissonance is so strong with you. Dude, do you think about women in your daily life? Do you understand that women like Star Wars and didn't like the Star Wars for these reasons? Like, do you have any concept of the fact that white dude, and again, because your post implies, the wording of your Twitter post implies that you're just so much more woke than the average white dude. It's not just white dudes commenting on Star Wars. That's not the only people who like that movie. That's not the only people it's for, and that's not the only people it let down. So, I hope you listen to this, Mikey, and I hope you reconsider a few things. I doubt you will, because you're so much smarter than me, and you're just so much more right. But one can hope. Maybe if you watch it 3 different times, eventually it'll click and just all suddenly make sense to you.